So usually I'm about X's and O's, but today we're going to get to the mental side of a basketball team, that team being the Celtics, who have been the most disappointing / intriguing / frustrating team to watch this year, if you ask me. Of course, part of that is because I am a fan of the Celtics, so I've got a little bit more sentimental value towards it. But even so, this team has not been as good as we thought they were going to be. Gordon Hayward's injury, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum wanting the ball a little too much, and Brad Stevens probably being a little too generous with Terry Rozier's minutes, whatever it all may be, right? And Kyrie has had a lot of things to say this year. His most recent thing was he went on this long-winded thing about the young guys are not experienced enough to win. Is he right about that? I mean, kinda, because I do think Jaylen and Tatum were taking some bad shots to open up the year in terms of mid-range jumpers and all that. I mean, even now, Jaylen will occasionally hoist up some dumb mid-range, turnaround. Tatum will still chuck up the occasional bad one. And you could argue that is because they perhaps were feeling themselves a little too much after nearly making the NBA Finals last year. And, Kyrie shows up, Hayward's back, and they need to be reined back in terms of shot attempts, usage rate, and all that, and they were definitely not ready for that. Terry Rozier is still not ready for that. So, yeah, perhaps Kyrie's statement had some truth to it, but at the same time, is it healthy to call out guys the way that Kyrie is calling them out? I mean, he also had earlier this year where he said Gordon Hayward was not being aggressive enough. I believe he had other things that I don't remember off the top of my head. And I think it's safe to say that Kyrie is trying to be like LeBron. I mean, this was a thing, right, where he no longer wanted to play under LeBron because he wanted to be his own guy, or he just knew that they were going to trade him. I don't really know. Or he heard they wanted to trade him and he wanted out, whatever it may be. The guy never really gave a stone-cold answer when he was interviewed at least one time on ESPN about all this. But that's kind of the gist of what you get, right? So he comes here and he's saying, all right, I'm going to be the big leader of this team and I'm going to motivate everybody. Here's the one thing I will say about Kyrie. He is backing it up with his play. Now, his scoring has not been as good as you would perhaps want it to be, as he's putting up around 22, 23 a game. But even then, he's a lot of times doing it within the flow of the Celtics offense, and Brad Stevens' offense is not set up for one guy to just get pick and roll and ISO possession after possession, right? There's movement, and Kyrie has been willing to keep the ball moving if it means the right play comes of it. Now, you could argue that he should be a little more aggressive sometimes, but, they've had success doing that this season. So it's not like he's making horrible decisions. His turnover percentage is still beautiful, as it has been pretty much his whole career. He's a better defender than he's ever been. Not to say that he's even close to being one of the better point guard defenders, but he's at least not bad. I think he's gotten to, maybe a little below Steph Curry levels of just do what we tell you to do, and just do nothing else and it's fine. And then, his rebounding is up. He's grabbing over one offensive rebound a game. I mean, the fact that Kyrie Irving is nearly at Jaylen Brown's level of offensive rebounding is actually kind of disgusting when you think about it. No, Kyrie is actually grabbing more offensive rebounds than Jaylen freaking Brown. Yeah, you know what? When that's the case, I think Kyrie is allowed to say the young dudes are perhaps not pulling it as much as they really should be. Now, I know Kyrie's playing 6 more minutes a game than Jaylen, but really, this should not be the case. Now, at the same time, do you think, could you argue that Kyrie should back off a little bit? Hey, maybe. I mean, Al Horford has been deemed like the leader of this team ever since he got here, no matter where he actually is in the pecking order of talent. And, I mean, I'm not in there on a day-in, day-out standpoint, but for all I know, the guys may look to Horford as more of the saving grace of the team. They certainly do on the floor because, he just has a calming presence about him with the way he'll just do all the things he does. I don't want to talk about Al Horford for 9 minutes. Whereas with Kyrie, there's definitely a bit more of an erratic nature to everything, right? Is he going to have one of those games where he just flows in the offense and takes 9 shots, or is he going to shoot 19 shots tonight? And then when you combine that with the statements that he's making every now and then, perhaps it could create a little bit of unpredictability, some non-familiarity, if that's even a word, or perhaps, just like an inconsistent nature. Not inconsistent in the sense of being bad, because, I mean, if Kyrie wasn't on this team, then this team would score 40 points a game. But still, perhaps that can be a little bit of a thing. So I guess my answer to all this would be, I think Kyrie Irving is a good leader who is perhaps trying a little too hard to be that dude, quote unquote. Especially because for as much as I love Kyrie, where does he rank in the NBA? I mean, maybe he's top 10 this season, maybe not. He certainly cracks the top 20, and he probably cracks the top 15, but is there not a little bit of Jimmy Butler going on here where it's like, okay, dude, we get it, you're really good. I mean, and, you know, Kyrie has done more in his career than Jimmy Butler has, but even so, there is still that stigma of, like, if it wasn't for LeBron, then you would have just been riding the lottery train every season. So does that perhaps make guys a little more annoyed with the way Kyrie goes about his leadership? I don't know. I'm not in the head of Jason Tatum, but I could picture that being a thing. I mean, we've seen Tim Duncan be an amazing leader, and he just basically never said anything. So maybe that would be the better way to go. I don't know. All we can see moving forward is what the hell is going to happen with this Celtics team. I could picture 9 million different things happening, but that is more of the X's and O's / potential trade discussion, and I didn't really want to talk about with this. This is more of getting in players' heads, seeing what Kyrie is really trying to do. I mean, hell, with how weird Kyrie Irving has been over the past couple years with flat earth theories and then basically propping himself up for causing a commotion with those statements, is there perhaps a chance that Kyrie is just forming his own mental playground where he's just content with driving the media crazy and all that and adding a whole bunch of extra stuff because he just desperately wants to be a leader to the point where he's actually just annoying? I mean, maybe I'm reading too much into it at that point. Maybe there's something there. I'm done. I'm going to take the tinfoil hat off. Kyrie Irving is still really good. And yeah, I don't know what the hell is going to happen with this team.